Gaffer, finally one of home games coming up. How's everybody ahead of Morecambe?
Yeah, good. Everybody's good. Obviously having the clear week helps for them to rest and recuperate and to not be doing a lot of travelling. So, yeah, that is a bonus. I mean, we've had I think probably 6 out of the last 8 games away from home, which has been a difficult stint really in and amongst it. But I think if you look at the form table, the last 6 games we're 9th in the form table at home and we're 10th in the form table away. So, as I've said before, the problem has been probably at the start of the season where we've not got up and running quick enough. But yeah, of late, I've looked at quite a few things this week. When you get more time, I've looked at some of the stats, and I saw a stat that was printed the other day that I didn't think was too clever, but then I thought, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll have a little look at it. So, when we're looking at, I think it was something about, or an average of goals we get or whatever, but if you look at it in expected goals, so, sometimes when we talk about we haven't scored a goal, then what you can do is you go into it a little bit more deeply, and our expected goals, over the last 8 games, we've had a better expected goal rate than teams we've played against. Saturday, for instance, for the way that Plymouth played, their expected goal rate was 0.8 and ours was 1.2. Fleetwood was 1, we were 1.9. Wimbledon was 0.8, we were 1.2. Bolton were 0.9, we were 1. Crewe were 0.3, we were 2. Sheffield Wednesday were 0.6, we were 2.5. And when you look at those expected goals, that's actually the chances, that you're creating. If we look at the crosses, there's only Rotherham, Wycombe, Oxford and Sheffield Wednesday that get more crosses in the box than us. So it's not that we're not creating things or we're not attacking enough. That is absolutely wide of the mark. Passes into the final third. 5 out of the last 7 games, we've had more. Entered positions to create an attack, which might mean resulting in a shot or something like that. Now, we might not have taken the shot, but we got into positions 5 out of 7 times more than the opposition. It's interesting, really, when you go into it in depth. And if you look at the expected goals rate, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, if you score more goals than you concede, you're always going to be higher up the table. But actually, fundamentally, when you look at the way we're playing, so the expected goals per game and the table, we would be 13th in the table at the moment, and we would have 43, just over 43 points, rather than the points we've got. So I understand that why we haven't got there, but then when you look into it in a little bit more depth, there isn't too much wrong other than our lads taking the chances when they come along. And what I mean by that is not just the strikers, I mean the midfield players when there's an opportunity to shoot. I also mean our defenders by getting ahead on things when we've got an attacking set play, because our delivery is nearly always pretty good. So, when you look at that expected points table, it shows me that we are probably a mid-table team. But when you look at that, 43, it's only 6 points off of what would be a top 6 place when we're looking at expected goals. So when we want to get into stats, we can easily put in one negative stat, but for every negative stat there this morning that I looked at, there's 5 or 6 other ones that are really good. We're in the top 11 for expected goals against. That's fine. We can all say that we're rock solid, but we want to score a few more goals. We definitely want to do that. So it's been a good week to check up on a few stats, because it's important that when you tell the players, or when you explain to the players that, the fact that we haven't scored of late, any player can go through a little bit of time where they're not either full of confidence, they're not quite fit enough. We ended up playing, as I said before, all over that Christmas period. We haven't had any breaks. Our lads haven't had any breaks. We kept playing. And I thought through that Christmas period, we did great. We played really, really well with great honesty. And then all of a sudden we had the Liverpool game away, and then nearly every other game since then has been away from home. In the 2 games that we've had at home since, we doubled Burton's attempts against Bolton the other night when we played Bolton at home and lost 1-0. But they go and score 3 against them and 2 from set plays. So we know where we've got to do better. And the lads know that as well. You know, they're a fantastically honest bunch. So we know where we've got to do better. But it's easy just to have a situation where there's a stat that gets put out there that doesn't actually portray the true picture, really.
Do you think that suggests that recently it's just been a case of narrow margins?
Oh, it's definitely been narrow margins because of the goals that we haven't conceded. So everything's a narrow margin, isn't it? And don't forget, we've been away from home in all of them games. We haven't had a crowd behind us at home. So we go down to Plymouth Saturday, there's 15,000 behind them. Do you know what I mean? So it makes it a difficult game. And the situation against Wickham in the week, that was another. They're difficult games that we've had on the road and long journeys as well. So we know that we've done better on the road. You know, to be 10th in the form table away from home, we've done better. To be 9th at home, we've slipped on that because of obviously our last 2 results at home where we've lost 1 and drew 1. But we could have easily won the Fleetwood game. Certainly late on in the game we could have easily won that game. But, you know, players are not always going to play the same, and your goal scorers are not always going to score. So we know that there has to be shared amongst the rest of the team. You know, we get that, and I think that the players know that as well. And they, you know, there has to be a collective responsibility there, and not just be on, as I said the other week, you know, just it falling on Dan Udoh or Ryan Bowman or Matthew Pennington, for instance, from a set play. It can't just be on them. The other boys have got to stand up as well, and I think they all know that and they understand that. So excuse me. So, you know, all in all, I think that we've done pretty well, and I think if we can get our other players in the team chipping in with a goal or 2, that'll be great.
Is getting everybody involved in the goals, is that something you are looking at? I mean, obviously I won't ask you too much about preparation and everything. But...
No, we always look at that. We do that all the time. This isn't something new, but what happens is when all of your strikers, all of a sudden they get a bit of a purple patch and everything's going in, and then you get the odd one here and there, that's what ticks it along. What you have to bear in mind is strikers are not going to score all the time. It's just not going to happen all the time. And, you know, and I think, you know, when they've played in the games that they've played, the amount of games that they played, I think, you know, they haven't played, our strikers, as many games as Cole Stockton's played, for instance. Michael Smith has played at Rotherham. So Stockton, Smith, Ross Stewart at Sunderland. You know, they've all played more games than, for instance, Dan Udoh, who's played our most games as a striker. So they're not going to score all the time, and it's important that they can relax, but it's also very important that the other boys chip in. But they know that, and we've spoken about that again this week.
How's the other preparation been going for the game?
Good, yeah. We've had a really good day today. Really pleased with the boys today. We had a good meeting before, and started our prep and tried to get a big chunk of it done today because I know that the weather's going to be very, very bad tomorrow. So we've managed to spend a little bit longer on the training ground today than we would under normal circumstances, but that's probably bored down to I'm not sure that we'll be able to get out there for too long tomorrow.
What have you seen of Morecambe in preparation for this game?
Yeah, enough. Enough. We know how they play. It was a fixture early in the season where we didn't think we played very well. I thought we were the better team for 20-25 minutes. We gave away a silly penalty that gave them a leg up in the game. I think we went there. It was actually a bad time for us to go there. I think it was their first game in League One, and it was sort of a little bit of a party atmosphere for them. And You know, they were well up for it on the day and looking forward to it, and had a good start, a draw at Ipswich away from home. So they were, you know, buoyed by that, and it was a tough game for us. But we think that we've improved since then. So we're looking forward to the game at the weekend.
You talked about at the start our strong defensive record, and over the last 10 league games we've only conceded 4 goals. And that must be quite pleasing in itself as another stat, another positive stat.
Yeah, it is. The only thing is, what happens is all of a sudden people think then, or start making comments that you're a defensive team, whereas we would probably do 75% offensive work to 25 defensive work, because the defensive structure won't change. So, you know, they know that, so I only have to tap on that very lightly in training, very lightly, and also from set plays we tap on that. But our split is probably 75-25 in training to on the offensive side.
We'll be speaking to Ethan hopefully in a second, but he's, you know, the captain and leading that strong defensive line.
Yeah, no, he's done very well back there. You know, we were chatting this morning. I had a chat with him this morning about that, and I think his defensive capabilities have been well documented. I think he's played very well for us. I do think that he can do, you know, slightly more in the attacking box. We've spoke about that. In fact, he was the one who offered that up a little bit. I think he's a bit disappointed himself that he hasn't managed to have a bit more of an influence from our attacking set plays. And I actually think for somebody so good in the air, you know, he's probably right to be slightly disappointed with that. But you know, we're still working on that, and let's hope that he can come up trumps.
Moving on to a different player. Back in January, you mentioned Sean Worley was 8 weeks away. I think you said. How's he coming along now? He's
probably another couple of weeks away from joining in training. Doing very well. Had a nasty injury. Had to shut him down for a long time to make sure it wasn't just the thigh, it was the tendon that needed to heal. So yeah, he's back out on the grass now, but it's a slow build up for Shawnee. So I wouldn't think he would be back in training, you know, much before the first week in March.
Fair enough. And then we've got Luke Lee, he's back from suspension.
Yeah.
Everybody else available, no new injuries, etc. for the game on Saturday?
So I'm just looking around the corner there at the board. No, we're okay. Yeah, Luke Lee, he is available this week. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Great, thank you, Gaffer.
Okay.